Hello, and welcome back to the chaos that is Shani and Books, and I've gone down a rabbit hole again. After the last video that I did on author drama, I hate to call it drama because the last one was quite serious, but for lack of a better word, we'll say that. I logged back into my unused TikTok account for that video to do the research, and now I've fallen down the rabbit hole of booktok because it's happened again, and I could not look away. Since this all unfolded on TikTok, which is short form content, and you kind of have to watch a bunch of different TikToks to get the full picture of what has happened, I decided to compile it all together in one video. So here we go, another author drama video. I'm not a commentary channel usually, clearly, but from what I understand, I can use all of the videos without being copyright flagged, as long as it's for commentary, criticism, or parody. So there's that little disclaimer out of the way. I recently read The Last Word by Taylor Adams, and I would like to make it known that if anything weird starts going on in my life, I want all eyes on the authors that I've made these videos on. If you've read this book, you know. So let's begin my PowerPoint presentation. Yes, I'm doing another dorky presentation again. I'm kind of obsessed with making them now. As you can see, I've got a Mean Girls theme going on here. Blonde, my shirt says The Plastics, and the background. This comes in later. It is for a reason. And if I've planned this video correctly, then it will be uploaded on Mean Girls Day, which is October 3rd.
On October 3rd, he asked me what day it was. It's October 3rd.
And if it's not up on October 3rd, then just know that my intentions were there. My organization probably was not. Okay, part one, the timeline of events. As you can see, I'm really leaning into the Mean Girls theme here. I see one reference and I absolutely just run with it. So 20th of June, 2023, the author Nate Lemke self-publishes his book titled Manic Pixie E-Girl. On the 11th of September, Nate uploads a TikTok. In it, he says that he's going to be reading a book every single day until his book gets on the New York Times bestseller list. And to make it a little more challenging, he's only going to be reading books by authors who are women. I just want to interject here. Firstly, his book is self-published, which means it's highly unlikely to get on the New York Times bestseller list. It's generally traditional published books, I think, or self-published books that are later then picked up by a publisher, from what I'm aware, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. So there's that to note. His TikTok that he posts is then met with a huge amount of attention from other booktok users who begin commenting and stitching his video with their own comments on the situation. I want to note most of these seem to be informative in nature from what I have found, but I didn't watch every single TikTok that was stitching this creator, so most of the people stitching are much more eloquent than me. But to sum up what most people were saying, the reason people weren't on board with his whole TikTok idea was because he came to booktok, which is a section of the app which is largely viewers and creators who are women, in order to promote his book. He made a TikTok saying, hey, I wrote a book about a female character being abused, but I never actually read books written by women, so I'm going to start now. So can you tell me which ones to read? Because I'm not going to be bothered doing it myself when you could tell me. He genuinely wasn't looking to fix a blind spot in his reading. He was only doing it to gain viewers in order to sell his book. Booktok is mainly women, so in order to appeal to the viewers that he was looking to get, to create his own audience of these people, he needed to read the books that the audience he was trying to appeal to would like. But since this is his first video, people are assuming it's a small mistake. They're trying to guide him towards realizing his mistake. I guess people were under the impression that he was going to hear them out, realize his mistake, apologize, and we can all move on. As I'm sure you can imagine by the fact that I'm making this video, that did not happen. But then Nate continues to post his daily book reviews, and then 1 week later, on the 18th of September, he posts a video, my response to the recent booktube drama. In this video, he calls booktokers Mean Girls and says that he wasn't trying to exploit women, but he was asking people to let him know if they think that he did exploit women and what should he do to fix it. People then comment on this video and stitch this video explaining why in fact he has been exploiting women authors and told him what he could do to fix it. And would you believe he did not listen to the response? Also, calling booktokers Mean Girls is an interesting way to try and mend a disagreement with booktok, but anyway. As you can see, this is where the theme came in. On the 20th of September, he posted a TikTok booktube drama update in which he states that he woke up to see that the Goodreads rating for his book has been plummeting. He shows that he has 35 one-star reviews, which is apparently more books than he had sold that month. So he's upset that people are not reading his book and leaving fake reviews. A second TikTok posted on the 20th by Nate labeled "Booktok is not a safe place for authors." I might play this TikTok rather than read it out loud word for word because I think it comes under fair use if I'm using it for commentary.
We need to talk about a dangerous new trend that's emerging on BookTok. Recently, a group of BookTokers decided amongst themselves that I was a misogynist and went out of their way to track down my book on Goodreads and leave it horrible reviews, without even reading it. It would be one thing if they actually read my book and didn't like it. That's fine, I respect that. My book's not for everybody. But I watched as their mean little comments popped up on TikTok and then just moments later a bad review would show up on Goodreads. From someone with the exact same profile picture. And unless they read my entire book in the time it takes me to switch apps, I don't think they actually read it. To leave a book a bad review without actually reading it just feels wrong. It feels dirty. And definitely not something I would expect from BookTok. But by canceling a book you haven't read, you not only erode the trust that readers have with websites like Goodreads, you also do irrevocable damage to books that might actually have something good to say if you just took the time to read them.
Like I said, my TikTok has gone unused, so I'm unfamiliar with most of the popular users. So I'm going to show you this TikTok from the user sensible_Amber that we can watch together because she says things a lot better than I can.
This is actually not a trend at all, and BookTok is a safe place for authors. In fact, what you're experiencing is a direct consequence of BookTok keeping itself safe. And I know that you're blocking everyone who speaks out against you, but I hope you'll take time to listen to this because I'm not here to attack you, Nate. I'm here to try to help you understand. Review bombing a book is objectively wrong, but that's not what's happening to you here. To give an example, if your ex's new partner was intimidated by you and didn't want to see you be successful, so they asked all of their friends to go leave negative reviews on your book just so that you couldn't be successful, that would be review bombing and that would be wrong. But in your case, women are leaving negative reviews on your book on Goodreads to sanction you as an author. Because at this point, Nate, you are revealing yourself to be far more harmful than the well-intentioned nice guy who made a blunder promoting his book. If that's all you were, you would have listened to the kind and fair criticism that many of us have given you and taken accountability with sincerity and authenticity and then moved on. People like me would have accepted your apology and maybe even bought your book as a way to just support a man who made a blunder and valued women enough to listen to what we had to say. But what's becoming painfully clear, Nate, is that you're not one of those guys. And I'm seeing that this blunder was not really a blunder at all. You're just another man who hasn't done the work to deconstruct his misogyny and is trying to portray himself as someone who has in order to get praise and profit out of it. And here's how I know that. You wrote a book leaning heavily into feminist ideas and the female experience, but centered a man as the main character. This is a porn-addicted man who hyper-sexualizes women and who seems to be unironically named Goodnight, as in like white knighting. And from what I can tell from what's available online, the story is about this man as the hero, like as his redemption arc, and women are just kind of the vehicle to get him there. I understand that one of the female leads is characterized as a pouty college student with small breasts that are barely a handful. So already we can see how the story isn't actually about empowering women at all. It's about the heroic journey of a man. It's clear from the book description as well as some things that you have said about yourself, even in this video that I've stitched, that this main character is kind of a self-insert. It kind of seems to me like you're using this main character as a way to like gain praise and approval from women for overcoming misogyny and the hypersexualization of women. This is your story, right? The story of you. And it kind of seems so far like you were hoping that women would see you in the main character and then would applaud you for being one of the good ones and would go line your pockets with the depths of our pain. And since you aren't getting that, you're lashing out. Everything you've posted so far as a reaction to the valid criticisms that you've been getting has been, but I've been putting the nice guy coins into the machine and bitches keep popping out. And here's the thing, Nate, there's nothing interesting, original, or unique about what you're doing here. This is just typical fragile masculinity. Please note, I am not calling you a fragile man. I'm saying that what you're doing is a byproduct of fragile masculinity. The women aren't fawning over these attempts to endear yourselves to us, and instead of asking yourself why that might be, you keep lashing out. You clearly don't have the range to be speaking on the dehumanization and hypersexualization of women. It seems you barely even want to listen to us. Why would we trust that you are the right person to speak about our issues when you won't even listen to us or read the books that we write until it's time to promote your own book? And as women like me and so many other readers and authors from BookTok have tried to explain in a kind and not overly critical way, just to make you understand, you have gone on to show us everything that we fear the most, but that we are so familiar with, which is how the nice guy reveals that he actually hates women unless they can serve a purpose to him. That's why women are leaving negative reviews on your book, Nate. It's to signal to other women that your book is not a safe book for them to read. To alert women that this is just another disappointment, another misogynistic man disguising himself as an ally in order to profit from our pain, that this is a cash grab. We are so tired, Nate, of being duped by nice guys who are only nice in order to get the fawning and the praise and the adoration and even to get some of our money out of us because you recognize our pain. You just don't want to have to be bothered to understand it. If you really want to help men deconstruct their misogyny, if you care about this topic, I think that that's a good work that should be done. But you need to start by doing that work in yourself first. Then you need to go speak to men. Write a book for men. Tell them your story about where you came from and how you overcame it. You will not get the fawning and the praise and the adoration that you were hoping to get from Manic Pixie E-Girl, which is the book that you have now, but you might actually make a difference.
Okay, so she's clearly very well spoken, and I ended up inserting most, if not all, of her entire TikTok rather than just the bits focusing on the fake reviews because it kind of all ties it together. On the fake reviews, let's look at some reviews of his book. As you can see here, they posted this review in September, and over here, they've only ever posted one review, this one. So let's take a look at this profile, and they joined Goodreads in September, and their only activity is this book and this author. Next one we have Michael, another 5-star review. As you can see, posted the review in July, only has one review, this one. And when you look at their profile, they joined in July. Here we have Sarah, posted this review in August. Again, only one review, but when we look at their profile, they joined in August. And this is the only book. Our next 5-star comes from Catherine, who wrote this review in July. It's their only review. At least this person went so far as to put an actual profile picture, but as you can see, this is the only book that they have recorded on their Goodreads. Next up, we have David, who wrote this review in August. Again, over here, we can see the only review that they've written, and on their profile, they joined in August. Last one, because as you can see, this is the last of the 5-star reviews. There was 2 from accounts that had other reviews, so I guess those 2 must be real, but these are all of the other 5-star reviews. We have this one posted in September from Jason, who has only ever made one review and also has only just joined Goodreads in September. This one has more activity. It went and liked all of the other reviews that were 5 stars for this author, and that's their only other Goodreads activity. So clearly this book is really loved by people who have only ever read this one book and never read anything else. Moving on, Nate then posts a video setting the record straight. He explains in it that this is his 4th TikTok account. All previous accounts were only getting a few views per video and nothing was working. So he tried again, and this time decided to start his new account posting a video of a book review per day. He says that he noticed from his research that videos that included something about gender in it performed a lot better and got more engagement. So that's why he added in the little line that caused him all this trouble this past week. I would like to point out that in his previous video, he did say that he genuinely noticed a blind spot in his reading, in that he never read women. But in here, he admits that he did it specifically for engagement. So there's a little contradiction that I would like to highlight. I'm not going to show you all of his TikToks because I'm summarizing it. I don't want to watch them all. Nate then posts this video that I can't play because of the music anyway, but you can see from it, the text on it says, "In my BookTok villain era," and then he also added this to his bio that says, "Real life BookTok villain." So instead of self-reflecting on everything that people have been pointing out during the fortnight, he totally doubles down, triples down even, and decides to lean into this BookTok villain thing that he's going to try now. As of today when I'm filming it, the 2 most recent videos he's posted that I've seen are one, this video here that is the most controversial books I've ever read, which includes the books Lolita, The Catcher in the Rye, Tropic of Cancer, his own book, and the Bible. And number 2, which I can't reach it, but it's over there, those 2 clips. It's a trending sound. I won't be able to play either, but the basic idea is him saying that he didn't care about promoting his book. He cared about sharing book reviews. I also have to point out that some of his videos he has posted have been deleted by him or removed by TikTok. I don't actually know. So this is me just reporting on the ones that I can actually see at this current point. One of the videos that was deleted was this one. I can only see a few seconds of it that someone else has stitched. But his argument here is that everyone is harming the women authors he's promoting by trying to cancel him because he's just promoting these women and their books. That's all he wants to do, right? Not promote his own book. His motive is purely to help these women out. So let's take a look at some of the female authors that are being harmed by TikTok users asking Nate to stop using women for his own gain in the way he is. And yeah, I can't play the TikTok, but it says, when your ideology goes so far as to actually harm the people you claim to care about, maybe it's time to start rethinking that ideology. So here are 2 of his book reviews. So we have The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath and The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. 2 authors that are being harmed because not enough eyes are getting on them since we're not allowing Nate to speak about their books. We're trying to cancel him. So these 2 women are being harmed, one not even alive, and the other one is incredibly successful and it got made into a TV series. 2 more authors. We have My Year of Rest and Relaxation, which you've probably never heard of, and the other one here, Colleen Hoover. Nate is just trying to give some exposure to these little indie authors that we've never heard about before, which I do want to say, of course, he likes It Ends With Us. In that review, he said that he loved it. He also called it a romance book, which I'm sorry to any Colleen Hoover stans, but that book is not a romance book. I read that one. That's not a romance. But of course he liked that book. All right, now that's the timeline of events that I can see them. You probably realized I haven't really mentioned the book at all much yet. That's because it gets its own section of the presentation. So welcome to part 2, the book. As you've probably seen from the previous slides, the book is titled Manic Pixie E-Girl. I would like to make it clear that I have not read the book. I was going to read the ebook sample, but it's since been taken down as an option, or at least I can't see it. Maybe it's because I'm in a different country, because all I can see on Amazon is the paperback, and I'm absolutely not going to be buying the paperback. So instead, we're going to just start with the Goodreads synopsis to tell us what it's about, and then we will hear directly from Nate, the author. Alright, a Manic Pixie E-Girl follows the downward spiral / dark night of the soul Alden Goodnight as he becomes hopelessly obsessed with Abby Cadabra, the cam girl turned cult leader who lives in the apartment above him. Neurotic loner and self-diagnosed girl addict Alden Goodnight. I've just realised that they've spelt his name two different times in this Goodreads synopsis, but moving on. Has sworn off women altogether, but when a provocative young content creator moves into the apartment above him, his resolve to stay celibate is put to the test. Claiming to be the new messiah of the 21st century, the audacious and irresistible Abby Cadabra is anything but your typical girl next door. Enigmatic, ambitious, and a bit naive, she is determined to become the biggest star the internet has ever seen. Alden soon becomes captivated by her irreverent charm, and the unlikely pair set out to create a salacious social media empire, even if it means starting a viral internet cult in the process. But as their controversial content catapults them to unprecedented levels of fame, Alden's secret, unrequited love for his co-star reaches a breaking point, culminating in a wildly shocking and depraved ending that will not be soon forgotten. Oh my gosh, I can't even speak. So it says it explores trauma, addiction, and the yearning for connection in the digital age. Thankfully for us, Nate has discussed what his book is about multiple times on his own platforms, as well as on a podcast, which, look, at this point in my research, I was sick of consuming content around this and listening to this man speak. So I'm not going to be referencing the podcast. I'm just going to be referencing what other people have found in the podcast and clipped, because I wasn't going to listen to the whole thing. But let's hear directly from him what this book is exactly about. I'm not going to play these TikToks, but you can find them. I've decided to summarize it all for you into this slide. So all of these references are directly from Nate's mouth. So it is about the damaging effects of growing up in a hypersexual online environment, about his own struggle with porn addiction and his healing journey from it. The main character is not supposed to be likable. He is a deeply unwell person with troubling, intrusive thoughts. The book is a projection of his subconscious. It's about healing from sexual shame. It has countless meme references. It's not to be taken seriously. It's for the chronically online. Only people who get meme humor will get this book. It predicts a financial collapse. It talks about 9/11. It is a deeply spiritual book, but also a satire and darkly funny and very extremely inappropriate. It has 3 intertwined stories, each of which is 22 chapters. Tarot cards play a big role in this book. It's about sexual shame and childhood trauma. There's a lot of overt sexuality in the book. It is a reflection of his real party/crazy life that he was living 2 years ago. In the main storyline, all the characters are representations of parts of his subconscious. The ex-girlfriend character represents his ego. The main character represents his soul. The manic pixie ego represents his shadow. The therapist represents his higher self. It's both very shallow and very deep. It combines fantasy, science fiction, gritty, real world Hunter S. Thompson kind of stuff. It sounds all over the place, but when you read it, it's really pretty simple and ties it all together really well. It's if Donnie Darko and Breakfast at Tiffany's had a baby, but it's also if Fight Club and a Hardboiled Wonderland and the End of the World had a baby. That is all directly from Nate speaking on different platforms that I've all combined together on the one slide. So hopefully that clears up any confusion about what the book is about. This is also not really related to the plot of the book, but more a note that he talked about on one of his lines about the editing process. So something to note about maybe the quality of the book. It is self-edited, so there's that. I haven't read it, so I can't comment.
The editors that I'm going to say this right now, the editors that I could afford could do just as good a job. I could do just as good a job of them, if not better. So it's a self-edited book. I think I did a pretty good job, but I kind of want this to be a community effort. And I really encourage you guys to hit me with any typos you see, anything that your insights, what you like, what you didn't like. I kind of want to crowdsource this thing and bring us all together on it. Like the traditional way of publishing a book, like you have a professional editor send it out to the world, and that's the book, it's done. But I would like to keep improving on this thing as we go. And you, hopefully 100 first people to buy it. I would love to hear anything you have to say about it, especially the bad stuff. I like to hear the good stuff, honestly. It like feeds my ego, but the bad stuff is what's going to make it better.
Also, I love that he's asking the readers to help him fix typos and things. Now let's talk about the characters. I mentioned them briefly in the other slide, but let's have a look deeper into it. And it's happened again. It's been written about a real life girl. The girl he wrote it about is an OF creator. I can't insert her Instagram because I think it will get flagged. I don't even know if this picture's okay. I I cut out all of the objects in the picture I think that are inappropriate. But there's a picture of her with the book that was written about her. Let me insert this TikTok.
Guys, this is all getting a little out of hand, so let's talk about it.
Unfortunately, I don't remember the book talker who pointed out that this man went to an OF creator's Instagram and he told her that his book was directly inspired by her and one of the characters is directly inspired by her. That OF content creator then bought his book and is advertising it on her Instagram. I went to the OF creator's Instagram and unfortunately, I saw there that she dresses up like Chibi Usa in lingerie. Now, I know this man likes to say that we don't like his book because we don't understand memes or internet culture, but I happen to know that Chibi Usa is a 6-year-old anime character from Sailor Moon. And less than about a month ago, this man was commenting on that photo thirst comments about a woman dressed up like a 6-year-old. Now he's on the internet crying he's the victim.
I have no further comment on that one, so I'm going to move on. All right, I have 2 more links to head to.
But at best, this is like really creepy age gap DDLG smut, and at worst, it is worse than that. I have the screenshots. I don't know if I can post them without getting taken down, but like the love interest, I guess, is this like college-aged girl. The protagonist is 33, who always has her hair in pigtails and has, quote, tiny breasts, like barely a handful is another quote. And she's described as being like little, and it's always like daddy and good girl. Like, it's genuinely pretty horrific. And basically there's like this lost princess who's been sneaking out at night to go do sexually promiscuous things, who is described as like a young coquette who is also like college aged. And it genuinely disturbs me that books like The Handmaid's Tale and The Bell Jar were used to bring attention to this book, which is borderline nonsense. And to be absolutely clear, because I don't want to get fucking cease and desist, I'm in no way alleging that the author himself is in any way predatory, but the book is disturbing in that sense, and it seems as though it's trying to make a point about censorship and kind of trying to be a satire, which I'm sure works fine as a defence, but you're still satirically writing actual fantasies about college-age, pigtail-wearing, tiny-chested women. Girls, actually. She's like exclusively referred to as a girl. It just makes this so much worse, because now, like, I have absolutely no problem saying that it is exploitative to use fucking Margaret Atwood and others to promote that. He might take the preview down from Google Books, so I encourage you to read it while it's still up. Obviously, if you can handle it. Genuinely, it might be quite triggering. So yeah, do let people know. I almost feel like taking my original video down just because, like, it's making light of it, because it seemed like a lighthearted situation before, but now it really doesn't feel like it. But yeah, please just be warned.
I don't know who needs to hear this, but this book is not about pedophilia, nor is it about an abuser.
He's upset that we found the DDLG dynamic girl in pigtails within the first chapter, by the way, where the main character, an entire chapter dedicated to this main guy jerking off. He's upset about the pedophilic imagery that's with that. She's young, she's seen as a little girl, she's in pigtails, he's much older, he's a daddy, whatever. Upset that we're calling it what it is, which is pedophilic tendencies, pedophilia, just highlights how little he knows about the effects of pornography, which he's trying to highlight in the book. How can't you know the effects of porn when you're trying to criticize it? Not to mention the comments where he's saying, you know, it's like I wrote the next Lolita. No, you didn't. No one thinks that because Lolita is a masterpiece. And this isn't that. So satire, which he's claiming this is what the book is, requires clarity of purpose from the writer. So I read the first 50 pages that were free last night before it was removed. And what I noticed is that this book seems to operate under the pretense of this post-hypersexualization of women online, where it's seen as laughable that a man as vile as this exists. But it's not, it's reality. So rather than this being a satire where we can mock and laugh the main character for his ideas, it is reinforcing those ideas rather than skewering it. So here's a quick lesson. It's ultimately impossible to make critiques about the byproduct of patriarchal violence when it becomes aspirational to those it attempts to criticize. Ask yourself this: would a corn-addicted incel like this book? In my opinion, and in the opinion of many women on here, the answer is yes. Because the answer is yes, you've failed to get your point across properly. So using the word satire, it's like you've tried to veil yourself in the ability to be able to write these bigoted, misogynistic, really quite vile and disgusting ideas, and then touting progression, which is not the case. And I don't even want to get into the Instagram that I saw, but all of these pieces put together, you know, coupled with the, you know, inauthentic marketing technique, where the main character also seems to just be a self-insert of you, it really just doesn't work. Again, I haven't read the book or the preview like these women did, hence why I'm inserting other people's opinions, but there's that for you. All right, we're on to part 3, the author. So here is what the description says on Goodreads. I would like to note that I'm unable to show his Instagram here because it's too inappropriate for YouTube, I think. Just know it's a lot of memes that he creates that are of an inappropriate nature or are sexist, racist, etc. But based on his Instagram live that I went and watched, here is what I know. So I've summarized it for you. He first decided he wanted to write a book when he read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy in 7th grade. Then when he was broke living in Chicago as an adult, he saw a list of the 100 greatest novels of all time and decided that his life goal was that he wanted to write a book that made it to that list.
He then tried writing a fantasy novel, a science fiction novel. He tried to write a book that was similar to The Catcher in the Rye. He said he had tons of ideas, but it was hard to get it down on the page. He said he struggled with, and still does, converting his thoughts into words. He then says that it's a throat chakra problem from telling too many lies as a child. I don't know what that means. And then in 2021, he was laid off from work. So he went out into the desert in Utah and fasted for 2 days. He then came back with a mission statement to make the world a better place with his writing. By the way, I'm reading this directly from the notes I took from that live. I did not memorize it. He then fell into the biggest party-filled period of his life. He was 30 years old at this point and had never partied before. During the party phase, he met the woman who would later become his fiancée. Moved to Arizona. He did long distance with this girlfriend, stopped drinking and vaping, and made a point to do absolutely nothing. He only sat at home reading, meditating. He wouldn't grocery shop unless it was completely necessary. In this live, he did make it seem like he was trying to get in touch with himself, but it did kind of seem like he didn't have a job, and it was just because he didn't have the funds to do things. His girlfriend then gets the opportunity to live in a hut in Colorado. So he says, this is perfect. So he moved out there with her. She wanted to do a 12-week program. He didn't, and he wanted to keep up with his resolution of doing nothing. Ended up doing it, and that gave him the inspiration for the book. He also proposed to his girlfriend while he was there. Only wrote 1 page of his book and then had to move back in with his mum for reasons unknown because he didn't specify, and get sick of that. So he moves in with the girlfriend and her parents, but then they both get sick of that. So they move to California, where he is now. So at this point, he hasn't been working for 6 months and was out of money. He applied for every job he could, even places that had help wanted signs up and were desperate. But no one was calling him back. He says he's pretty charismatic and usually gets any job he wants, so he was confused. He now realizes that this is a sign, and that he was being told to write this book. He decided to write every day for 3 months in order to finish it. He then gets a job in a restaurant that he wants. It was a perfect job for him, but because his book predicts a financial collapse, he decides that he's going to turn down the job, even though he's broke and desperate for money, because he needs to publish this book now to say that he predicted the future. The next month, he spends writing the 2nd and the 3rd draft and then publishes it straight away. He says he realized that the book was being given to him by a higher power, and that's kind of the summary of life up until the point of publishing that he gave in that live. I think from this story that he told, we can see why he wrote a book that is centered around the manic pixie dream girl trope, because that trope is just there for the woman to help the man in the story. He was dead broke and leeching off his girlfriend / fiancé for maybe a year here in order to write his book because a higher power has told him to. So he was kind of living out that trope in his life. The girlfriend was just there to help him do what he was supposed to do. I mean, it maybe was a different way, but that's what I've gathered from what he said out loud in his life. A lot of people have pointed out that we should not keep talking about him because they say he's either trolling or rage farming. Here's the definitions for those. Basically provoking on purpose in order to help his engagement. I'm not sure that he was doing this initially. Maybe he is now, but I think in the beginning he genuinely was trying to promote his book. I don't think he was rage farming in the beginning. All right, part 4, the marketing. It's obviously a huge part of self-publishing, which is what he did. Traditional publishing obviously gives you access to the marketing that the publishers have access to. So when you're doing it all yourself, marketing is going to be a very difficult thing for those who already don't have a built-up audience. And TikTok has obviously presented a great space for authors to promote their books. And we've seen examples of a piece of media going viral, which then increase the book sales. Self-published authors are also being continually picked up by traditional publishers due to the success of their books. So it's not a shock that people are choosing TikTok in order to promote their books. So it's clear that Nate was trying to achieve this type of success with some viral content in hopes that it would propel his book sales. We know from what I've already discussed that his main tactic for his marketing was the reading a book a day idea on TikTok, which this did create traction for his account, just not really positive ones. But looking at his Instagram, I found a video of him doing a similar thing, saying he will burn a book a day until Belle Delphine reads his book. This was only one video, so I don't think it was meant to be an ongoing thing like the one that he did on TikTok. I assumed he had hoped that the one video would go viral, or maybe he thought it was going to be an ongoing thing and then he switched to the TikTok thing that he did. Who knows, but it's worth noting that he did post a video of that on Instagram. So why BookTok? I'm unsure of his true motives. It's possible that one, he legitimately did think that the women of BookTok were his target audience. He maybe actually thought that the readers of BookTok would see his marketing videos and fall to his feet in support of him, love his book, and make it a bestseller. And number two, he did admit himself that barely read any books written by women. So did he simply just not realize what we read and what is in the books that are bestsellers? Option 3, and more alarmingly, I saw this TikTok during research that I'll insert in a second. So maybe he did know for a fact that women weren't his target audience, but was trying to acclimate us to his ideals through his book and his social platforms.
I am not tagging this commenter directly. I am only using this as a springboard for an educational video. So, content warning. This is what I believe is going on behind this abject failure of a book marketing ploy. It goes beyond rage farming. It goes beyond grifting into this. If you go to his IG, this is what you're going to see. All of this. His radical beliefs that he's normalizing, he's acclimating his followers to, he's actively dehumanizing women and minorities on his IG. And he's doing this and that. All of this. And he's hiding it behind memes, mean humor, dark humor. He's hiding it behind satire. But this is actually what's going on. He's trying to push the envelope of what's acceptable and what's palatable. And extremist views, anti-Semitism and racism are not palatable, and they never, ever will be. I will never sit by and allow people to make them palatable. By writing his book and marketing it to the exact opposite audience it actually has, he's trying to acclimate his beliefs, his deeds, on to unwitting followers. He's acclimating his content, and some of it is quite extreme. He's already doing this. The final step, dehumanization. And this leads to the idea of a supremacy.
I just thought I would insert that TikTok with just a different perspective of his marketing, I guess. Either way, he's now leaning into the villain role, I guess in hopes that he can convert those views into book sales. Also, if you've made it this far, you may as well subscribe. Like, you're here. If this were the Mean Girls movie, we are now at the point where we're reaching the apology scene. So let me know your thoughts. Personally, I think that if a whole group of women are telling you that you're offending women and that they didn't like how you were treating women, then maybe listen. Like, it's a whole group of people. Now, I don't know this man personally, and I don't wish any harm on him. Just purely based on what I've seen, I think maybe he's used to women in his life who are maybe more naive or easier to manipulate. So when it came to BookTok, he maybe thought that the same thing would happen with the women there. But then because the women on BookTok are so articulate and well-read and educated and they're strong-willed and they stand up for themselves, he wasn't met with the same reactions that he's used to with the women in his life. So then that was confusing for him. So he just started arguing. And like I said, I think most of the original responses that he was getting, they weren't mean at all. They were just trying to be informative, but because he's never experienced pushback from women, he took it as being mean girls. This is just a general thought of someone from the outside looking in. What maybe could be happening, I don't know. So this is all alleged, but going forward, I hope that he's able to self-reflect on this whole experience. Based on what people are saying, maybe do some more inner work, because based on the book and his actions, it's clear that he has more work to do. Again, I don't know this man, nor do I wish anything bad on him. I wish him the best going forward. Literally, if I was a Mean Girls character, I'm the girl who's just like, I want sunshines and rainbows and we can all bake a cake and be happy.
I just wish we could all get along like we used to in middle school. I wish that I could bake a cake made out of rainbows and smiles and we'd all be happy.
She doesn't even go here.
Do you even go to this school?
No, I just have a lot of feelings.
Okay, go home.
So I just want us all to read what makes us happy, write what makes us happy, but do it respecting each other. Like I said, if a huge amount of women are telling you that you're being misogynistic, and maybe have a look at your actions. But we're reaching the end, and reminder that if you would like to read with me, I started a book club, and to be a bit funny, the first book that I've chosen is a book written by a male author who is writing female characters. So if you want to read and discuss this book with me in October, this is the very first month of it, and we'll be doing a live show at the end of the month. So hopefully you can join me. I think that's all I have on this one. Let me know your thoughts. If anything, this drama has got me to log back into my unused TikTok account. So I think I'm going to post something on there today. So that's something. I'll let you know when the next drama unfolds, because for lack of a better word, this was fun to create this presentation. But yeah, thanks for making it to the end, and I'll see you next time. Also, happy October 3rd. Happy Mean Girls Day.